demand increases than that of the supply, then there will be the decrease in the oxygen area, and whenever there is oxygen is decreased, area becomes ischemic and further leads to the necrosis. So there are some modifiable and the non-modifiable factor for the peripheral artery disease. Usually last time also in case of hypertension this was present, and it is more or less same. Aging, old age, male gender, race, usually black peoples are much more common. Family history of peripheral artery disease, genotype, chronic kidney disease, these are non-modifiable, whereas the lifestyle changes like smoking, dyslipidemia, metabolic syndrome, diabetes, hypertension, sedentary lifestyle, poor diet are usually the modifiable factors for the causing peripheral vascular disease. So what causes or what are the factors that help in development of the peripheral vascular disease? These are atherosclerotic changes. That means whenever you go old age, irrespective of your sex, thrombus formation, any thrombus formation, prolonged immobilization, you can get a peripheral vascular disease, embolization, coagulability, usually hypercoagulability, not hypocoagulability, hypertension, and inflammatory process, or whenever there is infection, they are also likely to get a peripheral vascular disease. So there are two terms I told you, arterial disease and the venous insufficiency, which is we regard as a disease as insufficiency. In arterial insufficiency, what is arteries carries the oxygenated blood. So whenever there is arterial insufficiency, the blood from the heart to the peripheral tissues decreases. As a result, there is decrease in the oxygenation. Whenever there is decrease in the oxygenation, the surrounding area becomes ischemic and further necrosis becomes prominent. The pulses are usually absent or diminished. There might be usually sharp pain because of presence of ischemia. And there is interference with the nutrients and oxygen supply to the tissue, leading to the ulcer and necrosis or changes in the skin. And what will happen when there is venous insufficiency? The return towards the blood will be decreased. As a result, there will be the venous congestion in that area, and because of venous congestion, there will be the peripheral pooling of the blood, leading to the peripheral stasis or stasis of the blood. It becomes like a pool-like, pond-like. Pulses will be present, but there will be the edema, skin changes, and stress stasis ulcer. The difference between there is always how these are the changes that leads to the that how you can differentiate between arterial insufficiency or venous insufficiency. You can see in arterial insufficiency, the peripheral pulses will be absent, whereas in venous insufficiency, because of stasis and peripheral pooling of the blood, there will be the edema. The pulse will be present, but there will be the edematous changes of the lesion. This is the complete disturbance differences. This is most commonly asked question. Even in surgery, this is very much asked questions. How will you differentiate arterial ulcer and arterial insufficiency from that of venous insufficiency? In arterial insufficiency, because your arterial supply will be impaired, so oxygenation will be decreased. There will be the cold clammy skin because pulse will not be palpable. There will be the pallor on elevation. Whereas in venous, because the blood supply is there, peripheral pooling of the blood, their skin will be warm. Whereas in case of arterial, what will happen? There will be no blood supply, so skin will be cold. Pain, usually sharp pain that increases with activity, because whenever there is whenever we're having activity, physical activity like walking or running, your oxygen supply will be increased. Whenever your demand will be increased, then there will be the ischemic pain in that region, so it worsens with activity. Whereas in venous pain, usually cramping pain and usually help with elevation of the feet, usually relieves pain, because in what happens, whenever you elevate your leg, the peripheral pooling decreases, and as a result congestion decreases. So this is more likely a congestive pain, whereas in arterial it is more likely a ischemic pain. Ulcer, usually painful ulcer, usually found at the dorsum of the heel, dorsum of the foot, whereas in the venous ulcer, usually pink base, usually found in the venous stasis areas of the venous stasis, as you can find in the ankle areas. These are the more common areas. Whereas in arterial ulcer, it's usually found at the tip of the toes, dorsum of the foot, where there is a arteriole. These are the areas of arteriole. Whenever you see, you can know that arteries again subdivide into the arteriole. These are the much more areas of becoming an ulcer. Pulse, as I told you, absent in case of arterial, is present in case of the venous. And edema is usually infrequent in arterial, whereas it is because of the stasis, venous stasis, it is usually common seen in the venous. So these are the, again, risk factor. Age, sex, cigarette smoking. How does cigarette smoking cause? Because nicotine causes vasoconstriction and spasm of the arteries. Also because of cigarette smoking, there will be the arteriosclerosis, which is usually premature in origin. So circulation decrease, and it decreases the oxygen supply, leading to the blood supply and oxygen supply to the tissue, leading to the ischemic ulcer. Hypertension, it is usually causes elastic tissue. In the hypertension is replaced by the fibrous tissues, as arterial wall will become less elastic. As a result, the resistance of the blood flow decreases, and there will be the ulcer formation or ischemic formations. Hyperlipidemia, again, there will be the plaque formation, which will reduce the blood supply to that area. Obesity is because of obesity, there will be the hypertension, there will be the hyperlipidemia, and it can causes both arterial as well as the venous problem. Again, lack of physical activity, which again leads to same emotional stress, diabetic mellitus, and family history of atherosclerosis. These are the risk factors for causing peripheral vascular disease. There is a term arteriosclerosis obliterans, which is one of the type of arterial insufficiency in which there will be the narrowing in the arteries or obstruction of the inner and the middle layer of the arteries. It is the most common cause of arterial obstructive disease in extremities. The lower extremities are involved, much more common than that of upper extremities. And it is much more common in diabetic patients, because in this area, this diabetic area, there will be the early atherosclerosis, and because of it, there will be the obliteration of the small arterioles, which is usually below the level of knee region. You can see in the figure side, there is a plaque formations because of obesity, or because of dyslipidemia, or because of diabetes. There will be this yellow dekhirako cha side ma yellowish region.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the side region ma hera yellowish euta blood vessels lai euta section ma raheko cha. The section includes this portion as a red blood vessels. This is the narrowing of the blood vessels. Inside there are, you can see fatty substances. Plaque actually means the buildup of the fatty substances in the intima media of the blood vessels. Blood vessels ko pani tinta layer usma chahi intima media ra usma chahi blood plaque formation huncha. As a result of plaque formation, you can see the flowing area of the blood vessels reduces. Also because of this, the tensile strength of the blood vessels is also decreased. You got my point? Because of the plaque formation, there will be two important physiological changes. First, the area through which the blood flow will be narrowed. Second, the tensile strength of the blood vessels, which is because of the collagen, will be diminished. As a result, it cannot be elastically distensible. As a result, because there will be the compressible changes, and which leads to the narrowing of the blood flow. And because of the narrowing of the blood flow, there will be the decrease in the oxygen supply to the tissues, resulting in the ischemia and the gangrene. Clear? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what are the clinical manifestations of the arterial disease? Intermittent claudications. What the term is known as intermittent claudications. Remember, what is this? It is a pain in the extremities that develops within the muscles because of inadequate blood supply, which increases during the exercise, walking, and disappears after stopping or exercise. You know, whenever there is exercise, there will be the increase in the demand. And because of you can compare that with the previous picture, there will be the narrowing of the blood vessels, and whenever there is increase in the supply, the pressure the supply cannot be met, and as a result there will be the severe pain. The patient cries with the pain. Ischemic pain are very painful, and it usually disappears with the resting after few times, because then the demand will be less. Coldness, numbness, tingling sensation may be present. Absent of the pulses may be present. Ischemia in advanced cases may lead to the necrosis, ulceration, and gangrene. So these are the simple classifications according to the different classification systems of the intermediate claudication. You can just go through it, the grading. So another term is critical limb ischemia. It is the chronic or most severe form of the peripheral vascular disease. Usually defined chronic limb ischemia with duration more than 2 weeks of the rest pain, ulcer, or tissue loss, and usually characterized by ankle brachial pressure index, ankle systolic pressure less than 50, and toe systolic pressure. You will go detail ma यसमा surgery ma पढ्ने छौ तिमीहरुले. यो ankle brachial index means the ratio of the ankle blood pressure to that of the brachial blood pressure, and is usually less than 4. Ankle systolic pressure is also less. So peripheries ko pressure or not the medial usko pressure, and you'll learn much more detail this in the upcoming surgery classes. So what are the diagnostic tests? Remember Doppler ultrasonography. This is the term used. Doppler ultrasonography measures the flow of the blood through the blood vessels, whether it is arterial or blood. So because of the Doppler ultrasonography, we can find whether there is a thrombus formation, or it is just a plaque, or it is just a narrowing stenosis, or cause as well as the pathophysiology of the lesion. Okay. And sometime in advance, we can go for CT angiography or MRI angiography in case of the visceral organ, where in the peripheries. CT angiography and MRI angiography is usually indicated in case of the central abdominal lesions or the pulmonary lesions, where Doppler is not more feasible. Doppler ultrasonography is feasible for arms and the legs, but it is less feasible for that of internal organs. In that case, we can go for CT angiography, or whenever there is a doubt, even in case of Doppler ultrasonography, we can go for CT angiography. So lab test, just go through it. CBC, we go for the cause, to look for the cause of secondary polycythemia, as in case of the smoking or elevated platelet levels. Renal function test sometimes may be elevated. Lipid profile, sugar level, ECG, ESR level may be raised, because in the case of vascular disease, collagen vascular disease, and hypercoagulable states, in case of rare cases where the cause of is unknown, we can go for this state: hypercoagulable state, homocysteine prothrombin time, APTT, thrombin time, depending upon the cause of what we have, depending on the cause and presentation of the patient. Treatment. So these are classified as risk factor modification, exercise therapy. Then we can have a few drugs, surgical maneuver are present. Risk factor modification, yes, for those who have smoking, go for smoking cessation. Diabetes can be controlled. Hypertension can be treated in the same way. Hyperlipidemia can be treated. Antiplatelet therapy can be used in case of arterial insufficiency, where the aspirin can be given as low as 75 to as high as 325 mg per day, or sometimes clopidogrel can be given, or sometimes a combination of both can be given. Remember, this antiplatelet therapy is only used for arterial insufficiency, not for venous insufficiency, because of the mechanism of the action. This act on the platelet plug formations, and it is usually found in only arterial pressure areas, not that of venous. Sorry. Second is exercise. Again, because of the I told you that exercise increases the pain, but these are the modifiable factors where atherosclerosis, plaque formation can be reduced with the help of exercise therapy and diet control therapy. Okay. Pentoxifylline is xanthine derivatives, which reduces the viscosity and improves the oxygen delivery to the tissues, decreases the platelet aggregations, and the dose is 400 mg TDS can be given, but the effectiveness has to be checked. Again, this is another drug, cilastazole, which is a phosphodiesterase 3 inhibitors, which increases the CAMP. As a result, inhibits the smooth muscle proliferation and the contractions and resulting in platelet, inhibiting the platelet aggregations. As a result, there will be the increase in the blood flow. It also decreases the triglyceride and increases the HDL. So it can be used in case of hypertriglyceridemia associated with peripheral vascular disease. So these are the surgical treatment. Intermediate pneumatic compression, use of intermediate pneumatic can be given. Sometimes revascularization is a surgical case where the stenotic lesion is present. You can put a stent or you can go for the bypass surgery. I'm not going to detail section, just you need to know the name in case of the medicine. They can be embolectomy, removal of the blood clot, endarterectomy, removal of the clot and stripping of the plaque along with the inner arterial wall, or bypass surgery, means the changes in the flow of the blood. So this is one of the most common presentations of peripheral vascular disease. In the right side figure dekhirako chhau timarle?
Yes, sir.
There you can see the gangrenous at the tip of the dread toe. The black areas gangrene banirako cha. This is the common site for Buerger's disease, which is also known as thromboangiitis obliterans. It is characterized by acute inflammatory lesions and thrombosis of the medium arteries. Veins arteries mistake is usually arterial disease, medium size, not the large size. Large size rarely involved in small and the medium vascular surface body involved in strongly associated with the cigarette smoking, and it's only found in the male, usually 20 to 40 young male, strongly with cigarette smoking, and there is a gangrenous present and patient coming with severe pain. Always think of Buerger's disease, and it's quite common. You will find it a lot of cases this, and usually common in the lower limbs. So these are some criteria for diagnosis of Buerger's disease. The age should be young, less than 45 years, recent history of tobacco use, distal extremity ischemia, there might be ulcer, gangrene, exclusion of other causes like autoimmune disease, hypercoagulable state. Source of exclusion of there should be no proximal emboli by echo or arteriography, and arteriographic changes clinically towards the involved limbs. So you can just, these are the criteria to diagnose thromboangiitis obliterans. Again, the manifestation will be severe pain which increases in this walking and relieves with the rest known as intermittent claudications. Pain will be present in the later stage. It will be present even in the rest areas. Cold will be present, paresthesia will be present. There might be absent pulse, extremities are usually red, ulceration, gangrene may complicate. The treatment is the same as that of what we have discussed in the peripheral vascular disease. Tobacco cessation, drugs like aspirin, silastazole, then pentoxifylline. Then there might be surgical treatment, and finally there might be the option for amputation in this case. See there, there's a picture. The most common cause for the peripheral vascular disease, especially arterial disease, is smoking. So tobacco cessation, the only proven guidelines in case of Buerger's disease, strongly associated. Remember, a male patient with gangrene without smoking history is less likely to be that of Buerger's disease. Lifestyle modification, care of the feet, heel raise, analgesics, it's the symptomatic management. Drugs like prostacyclin or prostaglandin, I2 ilioprost, antiplatelets like aspirin and clopidogrel, thrombolytic therapy. Usually streptokinase can be given in the severe cases, but the trials are ongoing. Heparin can be given, pentoxifylline can be given. And then there is a surgical management which includes the amputation of the leg, which is done when there will be the gangrene extend well beyond the level of the foot, well demarcated margin, extreme pain that cannot be medically managed, or severe infection or toxicity of the limbs develop. So that ultimately the patient might have to go for amputation. That much serious is Thromboangiitis obliterans, that is also known as Buerger disease. Remembered points to be remembered: male patient, young male patient with cigarette smoking and extreme pain, critical limb ischemia with gangrene. Always think of Buerger's disease. Clear? यहाँसम्म केही अप्ठ्यारो छ? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we go for, these are now the venous phenomena. We go for the venous disease, Raynaud's phenomena, where there will be the reduced blood flow in response to the cold or emotional stress, which result in discoloration of the finger, toes, or other areas. And there are two different types of terminologies: Raynaud's disease and Raynaud's syndrome. Okay. Raynaud's disease is also known as primary Raynaud's phenomena, where the cause is unknown and usually common in young female and usually predisposed by the cold. जाडो महिनामा केटीहरुलाई लुगा धुँदाखेरि हातको साइड साइडमा नीलो देखेको होला, that is known as Raynaud's phenomena. यो कमनै छ त्यसमा. Second is Raynaud's phenomena, secondary Raynaud's phenomena. Raynaud's disease is known as primary Raynaud's phenomena, whereas Raynaud's syndrome is known as secondary Raynaud's phenomena, where the known cause is identified, as in the case of connective tissue disorders, SLE, Sjogren's syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis, or multiple sclerosis. Okay, and the pathophysiology in this case is hyperactivation of the sympathetic nervous system, leading to the extreme vasoconstrictions of the peripheral blood vessels, and the exposed area become bluish, which when allowed to the warm peripheral warm, again the results with the vasodilation, and again you can revert back to the normal. So there will be the intermittent episodes in which the small arteries and the arterioles constrict, changes in the skin color in response to the temperature. It is usually unilateral but may affect only one or two finger also. May occur after the trauma, neurogenic lesions, or occlusive arterial disease. And they will be characterized by reduction of the blood flow in the fingers, manifestations by cutaneous blood vessel constrictions. So in cases of cold or in known, in cases of cold unknown cases like in Raynaud's disease, or in cases of some known disease like connective tissue disorders, which is known as secondary Raynaud's phenomena, there will be the decrease in the blood supply because of vasoconstrictions in the periphery areas, resulting in the bluish discoloration of the areas. Side ko duita picture here, euta haat ko cha, euta khutta ko cha. There is a bluish discolorations where you can see bilateral. There is budi aungla era, fourth aungla era. एकदम नीलो देखिरहेछ हो यहाँ खुट्टामा देखिरहेछ.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
हजुर म्याडम, म 3 बजेतिर आउँछु. ल बस्छु. Okay. So sorry. So in side mirror, and again there is in the hand also there is constructed digital arteries where there is a blue supply, bluish discoloration. Okay, in a cross section of the arterial involved in this side, you can see there is a constrictions, as a result of which there is diminished blood supply, resulting in the bluish discolorations. Okay, so bilateral, usually bilateral arterial spasm, sluggish blood flow causes pallor, coldness, numbness, cutaneous cyanosis. Following the spasm, the area may become intensely red with tingling and throbbing sensations. Long-standing disease, if the prolonged cases, there might be ulcerations in their finger toes. So management, the aim is to prevent. The person is advised to protect against the exposure to the cold. You have to quit smoking. Drug therapy like calcium channel blockers, which causes the vasodilations and smooth muscle relaxation. The vasodilators are to promote the circulation and reduces the pain. In the serious cases, there might be sympathectomy, removing the nerve fibers, because it is a pain because the sympathetic nerve fibers supplies the pain sensitive sensation to the areas involved. As a result of which the ischemic pain will be reduced. If ulceration or gangrene occur, the areas can be amputated. क्लियर छ यहाँसम्म? केही क्वेशन छ तिमीहरूलाई? क्लियर छ यहाँसम्म? तिमीलाई गाह्रो टपिक हो यो सुरुमै पढ्नलाई है. Once you have to go through again to this all these lectures from your books, the main is arterial and the venous huncha. Arterials ma basically lower limbs involved body huncha, upper limb ma pani involved huna sakcha, risk factors. Then there is a venous, again this is a Raynaud's phenomena where there are primary and the secondary Raynaud phenomena are there. So now we'll go for acute limb ischemia, which is very much common. The word itself is acute limb ischemia, means acute supply, acute cutoff of the blood supply to the limbs. Can be because of either because of embolus or trauma, sometimes thrombosis, revascular. Usually the mechanism is of the body is whenever there is obstruction of the blood vessels, there will be the development of the collateral supply, as a result of which the blood supply will be intact. But in these cases there might not be. Sometimes if the collaterals is also damaged, there will be the acute disruption in the supply of the blood vessel, blood and oxygen to the tissues, resulting in the ischemic changes. Usually their body response mechanism is revascularization within the 6 hours, and it is emergency. It's one of the medical emergencies, and once you find the patient is having an acute limb ischemia, you start immediately with heparin followed by the infusion heparin, and surgical management can be of embolectomy or thrombolysis. So the same thing, it is nothing different. Acute limb ischemia means whatever you have read till now, like peripheral vascular disease, whatever may be the causes, if it is causes acutely, whereas if it is called a chronic limb ischemia, we can wait medical management. But in case of acute obstructions, the patient might have, if you don't revascularize within 6 hours, there might be the limb loss. You may see the fourth line. Revascularization has to be done within 6 hours to avoid limb loss, because at that time there is this complete blood supply cut off to your tissues. They will go into the ischemia, necrosis, gangrene, and patient might lose limb. So this is just a flow chart of peripheral artery diagnosis, flow chart in chronic limb ischemia, just a revision for you. So this is one of the pictures of thromboangiitis obliterans in the right side hands, and in second sides there is a limb ischemia resulting in the gangrene formations. Any queries? Any queries? This is a difficult chapter. Time लाग्छ सुरुमै एकैचोटी बुझ्न है, मेकानिजमहरु हेर्नु पर्यो, एकचोटी बुक फेरि हेर्नु. मलाई के गाह्रो लागेको छ? पछि सर्जरीमा पनि पढाइ हुन्छ है, यो सेम टपिक सर्जरीमा पनि आउँछ. Anything? Okay then, thank you so much.